media. We are here on the final stop of our virtual book tour, and we are excited to share this time with you. My name is Gail Watson, founder and CEO of Women Speakers Association and WSA Publishing. And today I have the proud honor to shine the spotlight on these amazing women who are transforming the lives of those around them through loving dedication and compassion. It's been a true privilege to get to know each of these women's stories. Each one of these women who you will meet here today, their stories have been chosen as they share their personal journeys, some through struggle and challenge, some through the eyes of others. They share the gifts that they have received from their journeys and are here to share these gifts with you. These women know that by sharing their stories, they reimagine the boundaries of what is possible and that their influence in this world is limitless. In today's world, it is so important that we share our voice, share our message, because every message matters. And as you get to know each of these authors here today, please support them by purchasing the book and by sharing them out on your Facebook pages. These women have worked all year on this project, and it is time now to celebrate them and to support them. So now let's get to know them. So welcome, everybody. It's good to see you here. We're all excited. We want to dive into, each of you have shared your stories in this book, and we want to give everybody listening the chance to get to know you. So I'm going to ask you if you could please share with us what inspired you to write your story, and then also share a reading from it to entice us with your style. At the end, we will invite you to share where people can get that personalized autograph copy from you. So here we go. So let's start with the amazing Hélène. Hélène, what inspired you to write your story?
First of all, thanks for the nice introduction. And it was so a pleasure for me to be a part of this book with this other amazing woman. So my name is Hélène Sevignac, and what inspires me to join this book is really what experiences my life about the pattern of performance, the way that always wanting more, always have the impression to be more of something, to be recognized, to receive love. And it was very heavy to bear with that, to experience my professional life and my personal life with this. So because I stay on that pattern for so long, and I had the chance not to go at the point of burnout, but it was enough important in my life to decide to go to another journey. And I had the chance to meet some of the nice people to show me that there was another way. So from maybe the 45th year of my life, I experienced I explore the pattern of the performance with the effort, with high expectation that I always something have to be more. And when I didn't know that there was another way to experience life. So what inspires me to join this book is like, I want to share with as many people as possible that there's another way to experience life instead of the performance that is very draining, that you can be performant with vitality. So I want to share my journey that if some people can have a shortcuts, maybe I have some problem to understand fast. So it takes me a hard time to understand that there was another way, but I want to share with as many people as possible and bring this in the business world, because I think there's never be a better timing in the history of humanity to share this. Because with all the burnout that we know, with all the things, the changes that's going on in the business world, I think it's the right timing to share that. So that's why inspired me to write this down. So maybe I can share with you as you ask some of the passage of the book. So when I was in the pattern, it was like there was a rat race in my head as I tried to predict results and control the reaction of others. Everything had to be rationalized, and I needed to have the last word to prove I was right and strong. It was very demanding and stressful. I put most of my attention on the things I didn't have, without appreciating all the things that were already there, always putting attention in the lack. Taking a moment for gratitude and appreciation was ridiculous, a total waste of time for me. And at that moment, I was in total disconnect from my body and my heart. And I realized I wasn't myself anymore. All this time, I had to protect myself by wearing different kind of masks, so as I not to show my true nature. With this new awareness and connecting to the guidance of my heart, my relationship with myself, my son, my friends, and my clients shifted. And I experienced plenitude and efficiency with fluidity in all the spheres of my life. I just didn't know it was possible. So, and for the last thing I want to share, so maybe I hope it will give tips of people to know more. It has never been a better moment in the history of humanity to return to the true essence of business, which is for each one of us to share our unique contribution to the world. So I would be pleased to talk more about the chapter that I wrote. And if it's resonated with the people who are listening right now, or will be listening later, it will be a nice pleasure for me. If you want to connect with me, I can share this in the chat to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I will be very pleased to give you an autographed copy of the book. And maybe you can, when you send me a message with LinkedIn, you can tell me what resonated with you, and I will be inspired to write down a special note for you with the dedicated book, with the autographed signed book. So thanks for the indulgence of my English. It's new for me to share in English, but it's very fun.
It's perfect. So thank you so much. And I think a lot of us can relate when we hear that word of in that world of the rat race, and but to be able to have a new lens on that and to look through with gratitude how you can change with that attitude. So thank you so much. And you can tell that there's a lot more to be had in her story. So let's get to know another one.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Anne Dunnett. Love to hear what inspired you to share your story.
Yes, thank you, Gail. Thank you for having me. My message is somewhat similar, but not quite. It's definitely about slowing down and connecting within and connecting with nature. And when I had this opportunity to be a part of this book, I was inspired to share my story with the relationship with my grandmother, who also was a poet, and she wrote haiku. And I can remember when I was about, 7, 8, 10, 12, during this time, she lived in Victoria. I grew up on Vancouver Island. I'm back into the same small town that I grew up in. And we used to pile into the car and go to Victoria and spend a weekend with my grandma. And she just inspired me so much. She came from London, England to Canada when she was 18, 19, from living in a big city to being forced to live on a farm in the middle of Saskatchewan, in the middle of nowhere. So she was suffering from big culture shock, and then carried on and ended up in BC eventually, and got married, had babies and all of that kind of stuff. But she was single when she was young, in her 40s into her 50s. And she lived in this funky little apartment, and she was really creative, and she just lived her life to the beat of her own rhythm. Like, she just was herself, and she was into meditation, and she was into spirituality. And I would go spend a weekend with her, and I was always just so fascinated with all of the books that she had, and just being in her presence was something that I really valued. And when I had this, a little English assignment when I was 10 was to write haiku poetry. And of course I was like, oh, well, I gotta go to the expert and get some help. So that's what I did. And she helped me write this haiku. And what's really interesting is that I actually kept a scrapbook that I had from when I was 10. You know, when you're a kid, you know, my mom threw out all sorts of art projects and things like that, but I actually had this scrapbook. And when I started diving a little bit deeper into haiku and starting to turn it more into a business and offerings, I actually found the haiku in the scrapbook. So, because I certainly didn't remember it at that time. So I was really fortunate that I was able to find it. And it's a really nice way to share this story of this haiku that I have, my grandma and I wrote together, and it's in the book. So I can just read a little clip, a little bit out of the book, and then I can read the haiku as well. So you can get a little glimpse about what haiku is, which is really, if anybody's curious about it and doesn't know about it, it's a Japanese form of poetry. And it's really about being in the moment. And that's really the core of what it is. And it connects you to the seasons and nature and just being quiet. It takes you within a little bit more, and it takes you into experience what the poet is expressing. So I'm just going to read a tiny bit of my part, and then I'll read the haiku. So during this time, I have a very vivid memory of looking deeply into my own eyes in the bathroom mirror. Just a little bit. This is when I was 10. I questioned who I was, why it was me and not someone else, and why I was here. This was when my purpose, haiku poetry, and the special relationship with my grandmother came together. Here is the haiku that we wrote. Deer walk through the twigs. The crackling leaves are falling. The smell of daffodils. So you can just see the simplicity. And that's the beautiful thing about haiku, is that it's just really simple. And I think that we're moving into a time where we're needing that simplicity, and we're needing that slowing down and to be present. And that's really what my message is, to get out into the world and to inspire people to learn how to do some of these things, and to look at the world in a different way, and to just be more present to their senses and their surroundings and things like that. So if anybody wants to buy my book, you can email, or I mean, buy the book. You can reach out to me by email at ann@everydayhaiku.ca. And I would love to give you a signed copy. So thank you.
Thank you. And we certainly see that theme of being present in today, and the importance of bringing that into our world today. And I was just, as you were speaking and sharing, Anne, I was looking at the cover of the book and how the globe is held with the hands of these authors who are pouring their love, their message into this world to really hold it with compassion and a true, and being conscious of what they're saying. So as we're going through, you're hearing each of our authors also share where you can buy their copies. So each author has their own custom cover with their name on it. So I want you to listen. If there's a story that really touches your heart, please reach out to that author. They will autograph your copies for you, send them to you. You can work directly with them, and they want to connect with you. And if you want one from each and every person, that's awesome too. Think about these books as gifts for the other people in your life that you know to share out with. Okay, this is really exciting. Let's keep moving on. We have Melissa Rowe, who's always brilliant when she's speaking and sharing with us. So, Melissa, please come on.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Gail. This is a great opportunity once again. For me, this is part of the inspiration for this book that is so continuous through this as a part of the process. I have always, for a large part of my life, my adult life, have been living in fear. And my first recognition of my fear was in my late 20s. I left my country of birth, Jamaica, and traveled to Ottawa in the middle of the FLQ crisis in 1970. And it was fearful, but it was exciting. And so that's one of the reasons that I have written about fear, because there are a number of areas and incidents and that had me fearful. The second one would be that I came as a domestic worker to live with a British family of 6 in an outskirts in Ottawa, and which I call something in the Caribbean we call behind God's back. There was not much of an outlet for me to reach to see other people and do very much besides being isolated. So that's a very fearful experience as well. And I was in that space for about a year because I was smart enough to, though naive at the time, I was smart enough to have had my landed immigrant status before I leave Jamaica. So there was a specific time. So that's just a little bit about my background and how I have taken that fear and have allowed it to take me into action and shifting from that space to taking the opportunity for educating myself at a higher level, at a master's degree level, and have used that opportunity to support other women in looking at their own fears, the fears in their own lives. And so I will share a bit more from my chapter, which is called From Fear to Courage, the Sweat Lodge Experience. One of the ways I have learned to embrace fear is to move myself from a position of pain to a position of power. It has taken almost a lifetime to learn this, but I honor myself now when I acknowledge how my personal awakening was built on courage and inner strength. My mental clearing work focused on self-healing and self-sufficiency led me to a women's healing journey retreat in Arizona, where I joined 17 other women. We came together from all walks of life to share our many experiences, moving from ordinary time to sacred time. It was an opportunity for me to connect with myself and to reflect on where I was in my life at that moment, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And that connection have led me to being a part of this, book, and through my learning with other women as well as I continue my journey. If you are interested in getting receiving a copy of this book with my signed autograph. You can get that at on my website at www.melissarowe.ca. And I hope you enjoyed all of the stories that you are hearing. And there's so much more to each one of our stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you're right there, Melissa. There is so much more. We are just hearing from 5 women out of the 50 that are in this book from all around the world. And this tour has been going through the United States and Europe, UK, Australia. So you can absolutely look back on the feeds and see. But definitely reach out and connect. All right. So let's keep this going. I want to introduce to you one of our co-authors, Karen Joan Watson, who also is my sister-in-law. Take her away, Karen.
That makes it easy. That's a nice introduction because my story comes from being the oldest of a big family, and my sister-in-law, Gail, and my sister, Joanne, have asked me over the years to tell some of the family stories, especially about my mother, our mother. And our mother grew up with a major loss. She lost her mother young. And as a child, I learned a lot from her, and that informs my caring for her now as she struggles with mild dementia and changes sometimes daily. And I've received lots of good advice from various family members, and I'll acknowledge that, but that's what compelled me to tell the story. So when I was young, my mom got me to read Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, so the book on death and dying. And you might think, oh, you're 12 years old, that's a bit heavy. But I was curious as to why, as we've heard other people mention that. Why are we here? And what do we do about it? So when I was young, she got me to write out, I'm a visual artist and a writer, and she got me to serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. So in my story, what I do is I give a little introduction about it. And then it's a conversation or a dialogue where I kind of go over the years how I went from denial, acceptance, sometimes anger, and the same with her. She taught us that these are acceptable things to go through as you're making sense of loss and life. So my quote is from December 1st, 2020, FaceTime call from sister in San Francisco, acceptance. Mom says she sees you every day, even during the big flu. She says you know the ins and outs of the place and sneak in to see her. Ha, I write back. I don't visit inside during COVID lockdowns, but I'm glad she feels as if I do. So it's a little bit of a love letter to my mom and the way she's changing, even with her loss of memory. And if you want to hear more or read my chapter, along with the other wonderful women co-authors in our book, Voices of the 20th Century, Conscious Caring Women Who Make a Difference, you can go to my website. It's KJWatson.ca, and I'll put it in the chat. So.
Beautiful, Karen. And I really love how you wrote this story in the conversation, sharing those snippets. And it really allows us to bring, to share that vulnerable side, that very personal side. And what I love is you expose the person that sometimes gets trapped in a disease. And many of us experience that, and it's really hard. And I love that we have to bring forward the person, keep remembering that person. So well done. You did an amazing writing, and something that will definitely transform the lives of others out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
All right, another person who's also transforming the world with her silver lining conversations through her personal experiences and journeys. I want to introduce to you Tracy Eman.
Thanks so much, Gail. It's so good to be here with everybody, and listening into everybody's stories is just inspiring me to go back and read them again, because the impact that these stories have is just incredible. So I went through a health journey 12 years ago now. And as you're going through a variety of different journeys in your life, you really don't think people don't want to hear about it. You know, you want to keep it inside. You don't want to share it out. You're not standing on, up on a chair and on the top of the mountain sharing it out. But when the opportunity to be in Voices of the 21st Century was presented to me, I was gently prodded to share my experience and the impact that it had with others. And if those of you can't see, Gail right now is laughing because she's the gentle prodder, and Karen is as well. Gail is so good at helping us get our messages out in the world. And so I talked about my cancer journey and how I was able to triple my business while I was going through it. And what I found was that it was something that, sharing that story was cathartic for me, and it was cathartic for those that could hear it. And so in this particular volume, I was talking about what the importance is of sharing your story. And I wanted to also share some of the stories of the individuals who are in my podcast, The Silver Lining Conversations. So I'm just going to read a really short part, and it is: remember, someone needs to hear your story. Someone needs to find a reason to identify with you and find a silver lining where before they only saw darkness and despair. If we can change one person's world, that impact can be felt around the world. So for those of you that would like to get a signed copy of my book, please go ahead and reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Facebook and DM me, Tracy Eman, TraceYEHMAN. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tracy. And over these years, you have done some powerful work. And I know many people reach out to you, and I love that you've created a platform to help others share their personal journey. So thank you. So let's bring everybody back on. I think we're all back on, and we have Laura, who's also joining us on here, because as we wrap up this tour, I hope that everybody, as you were watching, could feel each and every woman's story, how powerful it is, how intimate, how she shared that really personal part of herself. This is why every story matters. That story that you feel inside of you right now, it matters. It makes a difference. We need you to share your story. So I want to thank you for watching, getting to know, and all these amazing women here. There's more. There are more in the book. And just as a wrap up to our tour, I wanted to bring on Laura Rubenstein. Laura Rubenstein guides this entire journey from start to finish, and it's not an easy job. So Laura, I would love to bring you on and thank you for all the work that you do in helping us share our story, because it's not easy sometimes. Sometimes we get a little scared and it feels kind of odd, but you really make it an easy process for us. And I want to thank you for that, and would love to bring you on with any words that you'd like to share.
Well, thank you, Gail, for putting this together. The minute I heard the idea for this, I think we're going on our 6th year, our 6th book now. And it was like a big yes. Your vision for every woman's message. I mean, Tracy, you just said it too, matters. And it sometimes is a big barrier to getting it out there, but we make it easy. And when I first started working with you on the Voices books, it was like, let's make it as easy as possible for women to share their stories. And I've made that my mission through every book, making it easier and easier and easier. So each and every woman here today and in our books feels really supported, knows that their message matters, and we help them get it out and also take it a step further. I mean, we train you on how to leverage that book, what to do with it. We'll give you support in writing. You know, we have editor, we have, you know, group meetings to run your ideas by. You can have a buddy. So it's really an amazing process so that, you know, the light is shined on you. And all of you here today, I am re-inspired by your stories. Thank you again, Ellen, Anne, Tracy, Melissa, Karen. I can't wait to reread your story. I think, Tracy, your point about read them over and over again, they're transformative and they're comforting. In these hectic times, you've got 50 women right here in the book, you know, ready to comfort you, ready to smush you with their wisdom, you know, all over. So I can't wait to read it again. And thank you, Gail, for putting this together.
Thank you. And just to piggyback on the training, Charmaine Hammond, another Canadian who wanted to be on the tour today, but is at the Banff Film Festival because her book is now a movie, the movie Back Home Again. So she's off touring, winning all kinds of awards. So Charmaine, thank you so much. She walks her talk, she teaches us. She inspired virtual book tours. She trained us all how to do virtual book tours. So we want to really thank her, and she's a big supporter for helping each woman get their message out, as to make their message part of their business, so it is their being, and where it can really make that impact. So thank you to everybody here. You know, let's all turn off our mics. This is it. This is the end of, we have to cheer and celebrate. So I just want to do a big, let's all together, I guess, do a big shout out. And what do we want to say? What's Canadian?
A big thank you.
A big thank you. Yeah.
A big thank you.
A big thank you. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. A big thank you.
Thank you.
A big thank you.
Thank you.
Un gros merci.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.